Alright, good afternoon everyone. Today on Let's Talk About Things, we'll be talking about misogyny, sexism, and gender equality or inequality. Um, I've been really eager to talk about this because it really has been, as a person who has had experience living in multiple different areas and being exposed to different cultures and different kinds of people, something like this might be bizarre to people of other cultures, let's say in Canada, USA, or in Europe. But I'm trying to give anyone in said places, or even Australia, New Zealand, I'm trying to give you guys in these kinds of places a perspective into why and how Greek god X might think this way. So recently, Greek god X has been banned on Twitch after what Twitch and the Western media. I'm not saying I'm just telling you guys as in what I see. Okay, where he went on a bizarre sexist rant and demands that any woman he dates would quit streaming and be in the kitchen. So that's why he got banned. I assume it's because of the argument of where women should be in the kitchen. That is, in fact, in Western standards, sexist. So this is a clip of Miskiv reacting to the clip on Twitch where Greek god X talks about what he sees is the right thing to do when you're dating him.
Greek God X was banned on Twitch after a bizarre sexist rant where he demanded any woman he dates would quit streaming and be in the kitchen.
And this goes to any women date me, especially female streamers that want to date me. Okay? If you want to date me, you better believe I will be even if you're streaming, you're gonna have to stop streaming. Streaming is ended for you. Your career is done. Okay? I will stream while you cook for me and you clean for me and you look after the children while I gain all the money and I give it to you and I give it to our children for a healthy, secure life. Okay? That's how I want to run my life. Okay? That's my life that I want to do it. Now, it's up to you and other people in their...
Bro, what Axion is saying in chat...
So, to my Malaysian viewers, whatever he has said might be a little bit annoying, but it won't strike a really big reaction of anger and fear or anything of that sort, because it is a thing in this country, right? And in Western countries, this stuff like this is much less seen or much less heard of. But I think Greek, another popular YouTuber that openly preaches these kinds of message is Andrew Tate, or Cobra Tate, and he is like Greek, assume also of the same kind of thought process, and some of the things that he say, for instance.
My girlfriend sometimes goes, "What you up to? Or where are you? Or what you doing? What the fuck's it got to do with you? Are you about to put money in my bank? Do you need to meet me to hand me cash? Because if not, why the fuck does it matter to you where I am and what I'm doing? Just being polite. Don't be polite. Trying to intrude on my fucking life. You can ask me something else, like how are you so sexy? How are you so fucking smart? Why is your dick so big? Ask me that. Don't be asking me what I'm up to.
You know, it's things like this, like the alpha male shit, you know. That's what H3A3 has been saying, right? These people are absolutely alpha, but that's not true. They are just, really don't like that word, but they follow their religion to the bone. They are really they like their religion a lot. They really love their religion, and they take it as a book of law and how you should act. Right. So some other things by Andrew Tate. But Tate is.
Or I challenge men to duels. And they're like, oh, we can't duel. I don't have a sword. You're a full-grown man. You ain't got a sword. You're a peasant. You're a peon. You're a brokey. I come home. My 4 wives are sitting there. Andrew, you need to wear to get a new deadly contagion. I pick up my sword. I am the commander of this house. I decide if there's a contagion. I decide what I do. Be quiet. Cook. Shh. Really? There's contagion? Can we have sex this week? No, not this week. Okay. Next week? Yeah, okay. Well, you know, you said we would have sex last month. You got your sword. Your wife starts talking. You're like, shut up. Or I challenge men to duels.
For people in the Western world, these kinds of topics are extremely touchy, and it's bad. It's unheard of, or misogyny.
Athlete's got to be joking. You know there's a problem.
Other worlds, whatever they want to do. But my reality, I'm going to sit here, earn all the money. You're going to be in the kitchen, cooking, cleaning.
This is why I got in bad.
And I'm going to make sure we have money so we can have a home.
Greek's brain reminds me of like there's like a
And Miskiv is gonna say he think he's referencing Andrew Tate or Cooper Tate at this point, but as a person who has lived through many cultures, I've traveled and I've seen a lot of things. I've had conversations with locals in different countries, and I've had conversations with locals in my country. I have friends who are of the same opinion and position, or I have friends who stop having the same opinion and position as Cooper Tate and Greek, and they have a, how should I say this? It's without being controversial. I'm quoting my friend here, right? They have a point, because back in those days, that's what my friend says. Back in those days, as he was trying to educate me. So back in those days, women couldn't do much. So in my country, especially the Muslims, if your dad dies and your dad did not write a will, the sons would take 70% of the dad's inheritance, and 30% of the dad's inheritance would be divided among the women. Let's say you have 5 kids, and there's a son, and there's 4 other women in that household. So 70% of that income is gonna go. 70% of that wealth is gonna go to the father, the son. 30% will be divided equally amongst the 4 women. So it's stuff like this that people struggle to understand. They go, why all these kinds of extra steps and extra things to limit the power of women? Well, according to my friend, back then, only men could do business, and women were supposed to stay back at home to clean and all these kind of things. So the money for them is quite redundant. It's quite useless, right? So the men were the ones who could conduct business and all these kind of things. So they were usually the one that only has any use for these money, these kinds of stuff, right? But it's not true in the modern setting. No longer true, because women can hold as much power as men, and women is as much capable as men in many aspects, right? Just as capable as men in many aspects. And these kinds of thinking, I won't say backward. I'd say backwards. It's just traditional. It's primitive. Of course, everyone's entitled to their own thinking. Andrew Tate, with this thing, I won't say it's because of this thinking, but He has massive success. He is a fighter, and he is extremely successful. So is Greek. They are entitled to their own thinking. But there are other people who are successful who do not follow these sort of thinking and procedures. And in fact, in my country, many great men, even though this thinking is normalized, many great men, doesn't matter their religion, does not really follow these kinds of thinking. Even though they love their religion, they believe that, well, even though they love their religion, they still believe that they are entitled, their wives are entitled to something. If they could make their own money, great. Right? They can support the kids, or they can hire a maid, they can send they still, one way or the other, either an online business or things on the side, something like that. They don't mind. Really, a lot of the people in my country, and when I say people, I mean people that hold similar values to Greek and Andrew, but openly preaching about it, especially being a Western streamer, I could see why a lot of people are coming out and saying, "Oh my God, this guy is base. This guy is incel take." An incel, or this guy is misogynistic sex. I could see why, but people don't see. They see the surface of things. They don't really see why he is doing this, or what might cause him to do this.
A little kid seeing like a new shiny toy and just not letting it go. Like, I feel like Greek did not have these ideas. And then, like, he just sees someone say this with some confidence, and he's just a sheep, and he just listens to them, and it just becomes this, like, lifeblood. Like, I don't think Greek had these kind of takes a year ago, even 2 years ago. Like, Greek was not like this, man. He just wasn't. There's no way he legitimately thinks you need to stop what you're doing if you're dating him and cook and clean in the kitchen. I just feel like Greek watched some YouTuber who has like some confidence in himself in a TED Talk or some shit, and is now just spewing out this fucking gabagool. Like, I don't know what to say about that.
And you have a place to sleep at night, okay? Because we're working together, okay? Alright? Okay? Because streaming, I believe it or not, is mentally damaging to my mind.
So at the end, when he just, I don't know. I feel like Greek's on something. Straight up.
H3 says he thinks Greek is on steroids. Probably because he's lost a lot of weight. He's been exercising. That could be a probable reason to why he's acting like this. But a lot of people from my country who sees this, we would just say, "Oh, he's being religious," because it's normal where I live, and it's normal to hear things like, "Oh, I don't want my wife to work," and it's culture difference, of course, where in the Western world, gender equality has been preached for 100 years, and it's just beginning to brew up in the Middle East and the Islamic nations. I'm not saying these countries won't get there. I'm saying it took the Western world a few long years to get there. So it's going to take another few long years for these other countries to get there as well, to understand the importance of human labor and how people really need the ability to make their own decisions. But then again, this plays on American values of free speech, and yeah, he's exercising free speech, and of course he's preaching his religion and his opinions.
I don't think he's saying this shit without something inside of his stomach. I just don't. I don't know if it's Vyvanse. I don't know if it's... Look, I know some people that used to take Adderall and Vyvanse, and their whole brain and life changed, and they just got... Maybe it's that. Maybe it's shrooms. I just don't think Greek is... I don't know. Something about this is weird.
His pill, the thing he took, was religion. That's essentially it. It's nothing to do with drugs. He's not on drugs. He's completely sane. He just have a different output in life. Or maybe because of his exercise or performance-enhancing drugs that he is more cloudy than what he was brought up to believe. But still, I'm gonna say the things these streamers won't say. He's being religious, and he's entitled to his opinions. And he is entitled to what he wants and how he wants to treat any women that wants to be with him. Though in his country, I assume that's not many. It's confusing for a lot of Western streamers because of the absence of people like this. But things like this are really common in Middle Eastern and Southeast Asian countries. And when I say really common, I mean enough to turn a blind eye to and not bring up a big reaction as to how much you want to cancel someone and stuff like that. It's but I think really the world has to move on from sexism and misogyny and gender inequality, really push forward, especially in the countries where women are less fortunate and hold less power. We really have to push forward these kinds of agenda in these nations and countries. But I'm sure everyone is entitled to their own beliefs, and especially in these kinds of countries. They're rich for a reason, I suppose. They are very wealthy for a reason. And if it works for them, it's not for anyone else to say, no, you're doing it wrong, because to them it's been right for decades, centuries, and what we perceive as correct and incorrect, or proper etiquette and human values, it's all based on perspective. There's a stand-up comedian that says something along the lines of, if enough people believe in something, then that could be true. That thing could be true, right? So, for instance, if aliens were to invade Earth for some reason, and there is more Chinese people than any other race on planet Earth, and the aliens were to ask the majority, they'll be the Chinese people, they would say, hey, where's the center of the Earth? or absolutely an absurd question. Let's say, what's the most spoken language? And if, yes, there's other different kinds of races, but if the Chinese were to say, oh, it's Chinese, the aliens were going to believe you, because, you have the wide majority of people in this area that says it's Chinese. So if you zoom out, instead of looking at the Earth as different nations, if you were to look at it as a whole, the aliens would say, oh yeah, that's true. So in these kinds of countries, it's been working for them for so many years, and it's not bizarre that you'll see someone from these kinds of thinking in some other place. That's why stirring up a big uproar now in the US about how this guy's acting. But if you were to show this video to anyone in the Middle East or in the country I reside in, it's for some other kinds of people who are well educated, yes, it's educated differently. It's yes, this kind of talking is very out of character, but I'll say it's normal. They are people of different nations. They are people of different religion, and they can say whatever they want. They can they can act the way they want. They can rule their household the way they want. I don't know why this is such a big topic now. Qubits, all of this recommendation is all about. So this was H3.
Something else. He said he was twerking on stream, and that was the final straw. Yeah, he's been banned in the past couple other times.
Whatever. I don't care what he got banned for. The video speaks for itself.
Right.
You know
He's
what I mean?
unbanned, by the way.
But I found it interesting he didn't respond to me because he tagged me and he wanted the heat, and so I gave it to him, and then he bitched out.
Yeah.
I mean, that's cock. That's beta shit. He bitched out. He said, "Yo, tag Ethan, talk some shit," and then when Ethan comes over the top and dunks on you like the beta bitch you are, I just cucked you, dude. I just cucked you to your mom, bro. I just fucked your mom and you watched and cried, bro, because that's what betas do. I sucked all the testosterone out of your fucking tits, bro, like a starving calf, and you were left no testosterone, bitch, crawling on the floor like a withered old fucking raisin. And you didn't even respond to me, dude. What's up with that?
You're such a little bitch.
That's beta shit, man.
Oh, man.
You have no testosterone.
He's talking about, you know, the woman of his dreams that he doesn't have. He's talking about, you know, beta cucks and breeding. He doesn't have any kids. You know, he talks about how alpha he is, but he needs his wife to cook and like clean for you. Like, aren't you successful? Like, hire some help at the house. Like, you need a wife to cook for you. You don't have enough money to pay for a maid. What are you doing, dude? Pathetic.
But he's also not drinking his bubble water.
Bubble water.
Are you drinking your bubble water?
Flat water.
You fucking idiot.
Bubble water.
Well, Cobra Tate said it. Who fucking cooks? Get a fucking $5 chicken from Costco and eat that shit down, you loser bitch.
Yeah. Beta behavior.
This guy goes, holy shit, so many Twitch streamers leeching off my success. Lol. Bro, at this point, I'm going to go live to give them clips to watch. How many people are watching him right now? Is he live?
Well, I think they were all reacting to that clip. Oh, you're asking currently?
Yeah.
You can see why
Somewhere
this is
around 10K.
controversial.
Okay.
He's a big streamer, very, very big.
Really? Because I have 40,000. What does that mean? It means he's a beta, and he's fucking sucking my nuts right now.
Definitely.
He's not live right now.
I'm just saying, bro. You didn't respond, man. What's with that? You know? Here he is, Cobra Tate. This is just
I like the
July
rabbit
1st.
in the
This
background
just happened.
slurping on some coconut milk, coconut drinks.
Oh, and then he got all religious too, which is always a bad sign. With peace and love to our Christians, but you know how I feel about that. Your brain goes to rot and too much Jesus.
Oh, this okay.
Yo, he got Jesus? That's crazy, bro.
I don't know if that was a joke or not, because someone photoshopped the Bible with his logo.
He goes, it's actually sad to see so many girls sell their bodies for money. There's more to life than that.
Like being my domestic servant.
Oh, there's a reason why the sex trade is a respected trade in the Netherlands. It's because it's a job not many people want to do, and they made a choice, or they had less choice. But it's honestly it's their body. They get to do what they want with it when they're in their conscious state of mind. By the way, why? prostitution was actually not a crime as long as it's voluntarily. They regulate sex workers and they get them tested for stuff, but
That's true.
Yeah.
What do you mean there's more to life than that? Your life sounds your dream life for your wife sounds way worse. Why wouldn't they want to be independently wealthy and actually want to then they can go hook up with someone they actually like? They get to pick the guys that they like. And also, of course, he's a Trump fan. Trump was a way better president. I'm so confused on why anyone would vote Sleepy Joe. Trump is a walking W. So there you have it. Greek God X, you're a pussy, you're a bitch, you cowered away from me. You cowered away from me when you tweeted at me.
He fucking fuck me. I'm going to.
let's see what he's been up to recently. Oh, it's being generous. So, I mean, there's 1,000 people that like this post, so, you know, actually, there are people who agrees with what he's trying to say. I mean, if everyone is financially secure, right? If everyone is financially secure, they won't chase a life of family, of money and greed. They would chase a life of love and family, of course. That's why men decides. That's why some men does not want kids until they're financially secure, because they decide that, okay, I now have enough money and now I have no more extra things I'll be worried for, and you know what? Sure, I can have a family, right? But I don't like this. Women expire. It's a thing that exists in the country I live in. Like again, I said. But this is the thing I wanted to talk about. This Greek god thing. And it's unfortunate. I tried to be as neutral as possible in both perspectives, in both Greek gods, Cobra Tate, and of course the Western, all the other streamers that. Is there a right and wrong in this? Well, really, no. There's really no whoever's right, and there's really no one who's wrong in this whole entire topic, in my opinion. Because if you were to go to a country where this is normalized, people would not bat an eye. If you were to go to a Western country where stuff like this is, less known, less talked about, then yeah, it's bad. But if you were to go to Middle Eastern countries or my country, even people would say, oh yeah, he's being religious, or oh, even in Middle Eastern countries, oh yeah, he's being normal. He's being a normal lad, right? Yesterday I was talking for my friends about procrastination and how we can stop procrastination, or how we can reduce what we do. How can we reduce procrastination? And I found out that if we put our lives into stages of, we organize our life into stages of micro habits, little habits. Like, let's say I have been struggling with trying to get myself up to play golf, and recently, a couple months ago, I picked it up again after my injury, and I decided, you know what, let me try and pick up golf properly this time. After a few months, I stopped. Like anyone would expect, you stop your New Year's resolution and stuff like that. But I tried. My friends got me to get up and just go do golf anyways, right? And now that I made it a routine to do it once a week, I sort of want to do it more. I want to do it once every few days or so, and I no doubt after a while I'll do it every single day, at night or in the afternoon or in the morning. And it's a routine that's hard to break. So I think if people want to stop procrastinating, they should probably find reasons to this is interesting. Reasons to find little bitty rewards to an action that you could probably use it to reward yourself and say, okay, this is what happens if I stop procrastinating. Maybe I should stop procrastinating more, make things into a habit. And I want to try for my next semester, my last semester in university, I want to try to actually study at least 30 minutes a day to look through my assignments and all, and I do it every day. And get into this routine at maybe, let's say, 7:30 at night. Get into this routine, and if I find something that I have to work on, I work on it. Otherwise, I can close my computer and I'll go play games and stuff. I think that's something I would like to try, and I would update on how this routine improved my perception towards how I should study and stuff like that. Honestly, I hate studying, but let's see how the routine helps.
So we could have a sex and gender split, as the political types insist, that's also grounded in biological differences without making a categorical distinction.
Absolutely. They always remain connected. The reason that we have genders and that to have a duality of gender is because we have sexes. So people who say that gender is purely in our heads, is purely a society product, that's an impossibility. I think if we were a cloning species, so we had no sexual reproduction, where we would all be identical, no one would have come up with the concept of gender.
And that's an epic introduction. The Jordan B. Pearson podcast.
Hello, everyone. I am really thrilled, even more than usual, because I'm usually thrilled with my guests, to be talking to Dr. Frans de Waal. Dr. de Waal is a Dutch-American biologist and primatologist known for his work on the behavior and social intelligence of our closest biological relatives. He is C.H. Candler Professor Emeritus at Emory University and Distinguished Professor Emeritus at Utrecht University. His scientific primatologist known for his work on the behavior and social intelligence of our closest biological relatives. He is C.H. Candler Professor Emeritus at Emory University and
Emory University and Utrecht University.
Distinguished Professor Emeritus at Utrecht University. His scientific work has been published in hundreds of technical articles in journals such as Science, Nature, Scientific American, and outlets specialized in animal behavior. And I should point out that, generally speaking, in a scientist's career, even a single publication in a journal such as Science or Nature can be the pinnacle of a career, and to do that multiple times is pretty rare. And so Dr. de Waal is a scientist who's in many ways in a league of his own. His popular books, translated into more than 20 languages, have made him one of the world's most visible primatologists and scientists, I would say. His latest 2 books of many, and I'll mention some others, are Mama's Last Hug, Norton, 2019, and Different, Gender Through the Eyes of a Primatologist, which was published by Norton in 2022. He's been elected to the U.S. National Academy of Sciences, as well as the Royal Netherlands Academy of Arts and Sciences. In 2007, Time declared him one of the world's 100 most influential people today. Now, I would also say that I'm particularly thrilled to be talking to Dr. D. Wall because his work has had a real influence on my thought. Now, I'm not so sure how happy he might be about that, but he is one of the world's deepest thinkers on a variety of important issues. Perhaps most importantly,
I think this is a talk that you can all listen on because I really don't want to steal this away from Jordan Peterson, of course, because he's an expert. But I'm assuming this whole lecture, I'll watch it later on, is about gender. No shit. But about his stance on gender, and there's biologically only 2 genders. Yes, you can identify as whatever you want, but we're talking about biology as in you were born with a XY or XX chromosome kind of thing. But of course, over here they will try and be neutral as possible to talk about the history and choice in sexual selection. That I think this one is women choosing men. And of course, like all biology, you want to look at the more simplistic forms of life, like we talked about, and let's talk about one. We talked about the purpose of life and how, if you want to look at the most complex forms of life, us, and how we want to try and find a purpose to life, we look at the most fundamentals, the basics, the microorganisms, bacteria, and how they perceive things, as how these scientists would argue that, oh look, these bacteria, all they do is they reproduce and then they die. So that is the purpose of human life. But I'm sure it's much of the same. They would reference a lot of chimpanzees in their talk. So let's look at the difference. Aggression. This thing is fun because we talked about. They would talk. I assume in one of his lectures. I assume this is what they're going to talk about. In one of his lectures, he had a speech about how if you take the predominantly more aggressive people out of a whole population group, most of these people, the top 10 would definitely be men if your sample size is big enough. And female aggression and male aggression is different. So female aggression is centered around rumors and all these kind of things, but male aggression is centered around violence. So both genders perceive this one. You know what?
There's a segue into something else you wrote, so we can talk about it. So I want to read something again from the introduction. And I don't know if you agreed with this or if you were saying it as a summary of someone else's thought, but you said, it's easy to see why male and female patterns of aggression are valued so differently. Only the first creates trouble in societies. And so let me riff on that for a sec and then turn it over to you. So I think this observation you made about the swim teams is extremely interesting because we studied male pattern aggressive behavior, which tends to involve physical violence, and female pattern aggressive behavior in humans. And what the females do is gossip, backbite, and destroy reputations. And the female antisocial types are really, really good at that, and they're vicious. And the thing that differentiates those right now, so in such a cardinal manner, in my estimation, is that female aggression scales on the internet and male aggression does not. And so, we know that the online world is vicious in a very particular way. And I think a big part of it is that...
And this is of course, to many of my viewers, very new. Because usually when we talk about aggression, we see it as violence and plundering and all these kinds of barbaric stuff, but it can be split into two: male aggression, female aggression. And male aggression is largely physical, the traditional barbaric stuff, and the female aggression is largely based on rumors and destroying someone's reputation, which, based on personal experience, can be true. And there are women who were physical and also did this, right? And it really opens your eyes to what sort of how aggressive someone can be based on what they say.
It actually can't be settled. So part of the reason that women have difficulty in conflict is because men can resort to fighting. And that will produce an alteration it'll produce a cessation of the conflict in a very real sense, one way or another, right?
By the way, when he's talking about aggression, he uses data. Yeah, he uses data, and they're extrapolating meaning from data. So, just get the text.
Right. But when women are embroiled in a conflict, well, they can't fight physically. And so they do get caught in this conundrum. So one of the problems that our society really wrestles with at the moment is that it's very difficult to control untrammeled female pattern aggression. And so I think it is causing a tremendous amount of trouble. And that reputation damaging, you just see that constantly on social media platforms. And so I don't know if that was your thought or if it was a thought that you were summarizing, but I'm kind of curious about your thoughts about that.
Yeah, so I make a distinction in my book between two ways of keeping the peace. One is peacemaking, the other one is peacekeeping. The males in chimpanzees, the males are very good at peacemaking. They have a fight, and then they get together, they kiss and embrace, and then they groom each other, and they cycle through this all the time. It's a very easy process for them. And they have more fights than females. And I think what the females do, the females reconcile less when they have a fight, less often than the males, because they have more trouble with that, I think. And what the females do is stay away from your rivals, stay away from fights, stay away from individuals that you're likely to will have a fight. I call that peacekeeping, is that they suppress aggression and they stay away from those.
All right. So let's look at that in the human case. So one of the biological temperamental differences that you see between men and women is that women are higher in negative emotion. That starts in puberty, because boys and girls are the same, and it doesn't change throughout the life course. And women are more agreeable. And so that combination, so agreeable people are conflict avoidant. Now, agreeableness is empathy, and that's supposed to be a cardinal virtue, but the downside of agreeableness and empathy is conflict avoidance. Mm-hmm. And so, if you add to that,
conflict avoidance is emotionally taxing. So I think
it's also practically a problem, because it means that if someone pushes on you, that you have to negotiate.
This is a psychologist who studies human emotions for a living, and a biologist who studies human perception or animal behavior for a living. And these is two of the greatest minds in these kinds of subjects coming together, talking about how aggression is with women or men.
Negotiate with, you have to avoid, or you won't push back. And what the hell are you going to do on the negotiating front if that's the case? Say at your workplace, you can't avoid your boss.
But the interesting thing is that both strategies are actually quite successful. We did a study of human behavior in the hospitals. We looked at operating rooms, and we looked at how well men and women work together. And female cooperation is really highly developed. So female teams, not all female teams, but females on a team works very well. And so I think both sexes have a good strategy. One is to suppress conflict. The other one is to reconcile very easily. So they're both good strategies, and they're both quite effective, but they're totally different.
Okay, so let me push you on that just for a sec then. So let's take an optimal female cooperating group. See, the conundrum I think they run into, and I think this is the conundrum of compassion in general, is that that's just fine until you throw a predator in. And so a group like that...
I didn't think he would go there.
They're both quite effective, but they're totally different.
Okay, so let me push you on that just for a sec then. So let's take an optimal female cooperating group. See, the conundrum I think they run into, and I think this is the conundrum of compassion in general, is that that's just fine until you throw a predator in. And so a group like that that's actually made out of pure cooperators can work just fine. But if you throw in a woman who has antisocial personality, which would be manifested, say, as borderline personality disorder, which looks like the clinical equivalent of ASP in females, or if you throw in a real predator, the if the cooperators can't avoid and they can't oppose, all they have left is to fall victim to the predator. And that's why I think that women are in this weird evolutionary conundrum, because they have to find men who are disagreeable enough to stave off the real predators, but agreeable enough to be generous with their productive competence, right? And so it's this knife edge, because a little too far in either direction is not good. So is there a flaw in my reasoning there? With regards to the Achilles heel, let's say, of female cooperative groups?
No, I think it is true that...
There you go, boys. That's how you should act, and that's how you should be in order to have the maximum amount of compatible females. So...
Predator, if the cooperators can't avoid and they can't oppose, all they have left is to fall victim to the predator. And that's why I think that women are in this weird evolutionary conundrum, because they have to find men who are disagreeable enough to stave off the real predators.
Disagreeable people? So, like he said beforehand, disagreeable people are...
That in the human case. So one of the biological temperamental differences that you see between men and women is that women are higher in negative emotion. That starts in puberty, because boys and girls are the same. And it doesn't change throughout the life course, and women are more agreeable. And so that combination, so agreeable people are conflict avoidant.
So agreeable people are conflict avoidant. So for guys, right, according to this one,
all they have left is to fall victim to the predator.
Okay,
and that's why...
Let me just pull out the Word doc. Right, so... So if we say agreeable people are conflict avoidant, and according to these two leading male psychologists and biologists,
women are in this weird evolutionary conundrum, because they have to find men who are disagreeable enough to stave off the real predators, but agreeable enough to be generous with their productive competence, right? And so it's this knife edge, because a little too far in either direction is not good. So is there a flaw in my
So disagreeable enough to cause conflict? Cause conflict, but agreeable enough so that the female counterparts still happy with what they have.
Reasoning there is with a conundrum, because they have to find men who are disagreeable enough to stave off the real predators, but agreeable enough to be generous with their productive competence, right? And so it's this... What
does he mean by productive competence? speak and write a language. So being able to be productive. Maybe you fix a destination with your life. You say what you want to do. I guess that's what makes a person attractive. Have an end goal, have a goal of some sorts of what you want your future to be like.
Knife edge, because a little too far in either direction is not good. So is there a flaw in my reasoning there with regards to the Achilles heel?
But why would you want to be too sharp, right? If you talk about a knife edge, if you're too sharp,
let's say, of female cooperative groups?
Insecurities come?
No, I think it is true that we have always underestimated female competitiveness. In the psychological literature, males were always called hierarchical and competitive, and not females. And now we know that there's plenty of female competition. And there's plenty of female hierarchies. Actually, the word pecking order comes from hens, not from roosters.
Damn. The word pecking order comes from hens, not from roosters.
And in the animal kingdom, lots of females have hierarchies, have alpha females and so on. So I think it's important to point out always that female competition is maybe less physical, but it's not absent.
Well, it's probably also not competition about exactly the same things. In your work on animal cognition, you use this term Umwelt, which is like the implicit motivational environment in some sense that an animal might inhabit. And I'd like to talk about that in a bit. But
all right, I'll stop here. But anyone who's interested in these kind of topics can look into Jordan D. Peterson's lectures and all these kind of stuff, especially this one, Biology of Good and Evil, with Frans de Waal. And these are some great lines. And any one of you who have any sorts of free time could look into. This is a podcast, yeah. It's not entirely based. It's not biased towards one person. It is two researchers agreeing on things, or sometimes disagreeing on things. So this is perhaps an interesting podcast for people who are interested in this kind of topics. I'll watch the whole thing later on.
After that.
But this is all the time I have for today. I've been streaming for 53 minutes, and I have got to go. It's about 3 p.m., 2:30 p.m. my time. So I wish you all the best, and I'm going to end the stream now. Thank you. Bye.